In my own research and my own line of thinking, I have been trying to conceptualize AI in education in three different categories. This is mainly driven by the distributed cognition theory, and I have been thinking about AI as an opportunity as number one, to think about particular human tasks, computationally model them, and replace them for productivity gains. Number two, you can think about AI as an opportunity to computationally model what good looks like in a given context. The goal of the model would be to change human representation of thought. Or you can think about AI as an opportunity to extend human cognition. In this third condition, it is a relatively simple mathematical representation, but the way that I have been talking and thinking about synergy is that when humans are working with AI, their performance at a given task should be better than the maximum of each agent. I know this is a simplification, but that gives us a really good starting point to concretely talk about what synergy actually is. So if you try to map these three conceptualizations on the coordinates of human control versus automation through AI, you would consider the replacement paradigm as part of these low human agency and high automation AI use cases. And it looks like most of the current use cases of large language models can indeed be categorized in this replacement paradigm. As a person who is interested in applied AI in education, I was a lot more interested in finding out the kind of professions that are associated with education, because most of the existing predictions are telling that the jobs of certain educational contexts, including teachers, are actually one of those very difficult to be automated, and they are the kind of professions that would never use AI for automating purposes. But there were actually a couple of teachers, particularly subject-specific teachers on foreign language and literature. They were also categorized in this 4% of the professions who are using generative AI for more than 75% of their professional tasks. So this is really interesting. And then the authors afterwards go into the details of trying to identify what type of interactions each one of these professions were having with generative AI. And they were very optimistically making an argument that 52% of the use cases were labeled as augmentative interactions, and about 48% of the interactions were labeled as potentially automating type of interactions. But if you look at the details of what kind of actions were labeled as augmentative interactions and what kind of actions were labeled as augmentative interactions, you can see that from a learning sciences point of view, you could have strong disagreements with these labels. If majority of our current interactions, at least in the way that they have been studied in these kind of large-scale investigations, indicate that we are using these models to automate particular tasks, then the question is, what would be the impact of such interactions? Emerging evidence is very weak because we don't really have good RCTs in these kind of studies. But there's one RCT recently being published in the UK, and what they show is that those teachers who are using these large language models can save up to 31% in their lesson preparation time. But even more interestingly, from my point of view, when they looked at the quality of these materials that were created by teachers who are using large language models versus those who are not using, they found no statistically significant difference between the two groups. So teachers were not really pushing what they could do further, but they were doing what they were able to do in a short amount of time. In our own lab, we have been running multiple experiments with regards to the use of large language models, particularly in higher education contexts. So at UCL, in the departments of psychology and statistics, we have been running these experiments of looking at the potential of AI-generated feedback. For any assignment, any given assignment response of a student, we have been creating three different types of feedback. Number one is AI-generated feedback. Number 2 is the TA or lecturer-created, human-created feedback. And number 3 is the lecturer working with the generative AI to create a feedback. And a few really interesting results emerge. Number 1, when students know that the original source of the feedback is AI, the credibility of the feedback is judged as statistically significantly lower than human and human-AI conditions, which is expected. Although we found correlation between the students' years of experience of using AI and their ability to diagnose the original source of feedback accurately, we actually showed that success rate of diagnosing accurate source is very low. So in this case, it would be about 33% for the baseline. And here you can see that most of the accuracy is around 40%. So they cannot really tell whether the feedback is originally coming from AI or not. And more interestingly, when they do not know the original source of the feedback, they actually judge the AI-generated feedback and human-AI co-created feedback as statistically significantly better than human feedback alone. But we found no difference between the human-AI co-creation and AI feedback alone conditions. So again, lecturers and the TAs were not really working with AI to push what they could do to do better things. They were just using it to do what they could do in short amount of time.